Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Ron's Fixin' It. Today we're looking at this Wisconsin VG4D. It's a 4-cylinder, I guess I don't know how many horsepower engine, attached to a 15 kilowatt 120 208 volt 3-phase generator head. We're going to be trying to get this thing going. We're going to try to get some power out of it. We're going to try to set it up as possibly a backup generator. It has very few hours. I got it on auction. Let's see if we can get in there. Yeah, real nice and low. Awesome. And I don't know a whole lot about it. Maybe you do. Maybe someone out there can tell me about it. I know that the model is VG4D. And it's got a spec number, but I don't know where to look up that info. It's set up right now to run off of either propane or natural gas, and I really don't know how to tell. It looks like we've got a regulator on here. Not much for info there. And then instead of a carburetor, we've got some sort of volume regulator for the propane or natural gas. I'm not really sure how any of that works. Real clean unit. Got a pretty good deal on it and just couldn't pass it up. I used to work at a shop that did a lot of work on these. That wasn't my job at the shop though, so I don't know as much as I probably should about these. It's got a couple of leads on this side for hooking up to a battery. 12 volt leads. That allows the solenoid for the gas to click on, let some gas in for starting it. The oil in it is real clean. Let me see if I can find that dipstick here. Oh yeah, there we go. Beautiful clean oil. Newish filter. I don't know where it came from. I mean, aside from the auction. Don't know who the seller was. Hard to say. 1800 RPM, 62.5 amp, 0.8 power factor, 15 kW, 15 kVA, 3-phase, 60 hertz. So we can use it for quite a bit of things around here. All of my 120 volt power, my 240 volt power. Oh, but you know what? You know what it does? My well is 240 volt. So it's 240 volt single phase, so I've got two hot wires there to give me 240 volt. So if I have 208 volt here and this all works out and everything checks out and I'm able to use this, I'll have to set up a transformer on the shelf just to go from 208 volt single phase to 240 volt single phase, and that should get that worked out. But I haven't looked much into that. I've got a couple of transformers around here. I might be able to make something work. That's not the important thing today. Today, what we're looking at is getting this thing to crank, checking this thing for spark. It's got this magneto style distributor on the side. Again, I'm not real familiar with that. I know we got to have a battery on this thing. There's some sort of little sight window here. I don't know. Downloaded a copy of the manual online, found it for free online, and it gives clockwise rotation from the flywheel side of the engine. So as we're looking at it now, we should have this guy spinning clockwise. I've got some propane. It might not be enough to run it. It's a pretty big fitting on there. I think that's a 5/8 flare fitting. I'll have to get all sorts of hose and fittings and stuff just to run it. We're going to test run it off of just 20-pound propane tank or 30, 40-pound propane tanks, whatever I got laying around. I got a bunch of them. But eventually, if everything works out, we'll permanently mount this guy inside. I want to keep it out of the weather. I think it looks too good. Leave outside. And we'll actually trench propane over to it so it's just ready all the time. Probably some copper line and a shut-off valve. Maybe I'll get some of that yellow poly stuff. Who knows? I like the look of this thing. It's big, it's industrial. I don't know how many horsepower, something like must be close to 40. It's got an oil bath air cleaner. I like that. My tractor's got the oil bath air cleaner. This one's got a little dent in it. I'm guessing when they brought it to the auction house, they must have mashed it a little bit. When I picked it up at the auction house, I was fortunate enough to see that the exhaust coupling was tightened up. So even though it was raining that day, there was no water in my exhaust. What more could you hope for? Is that how that comes out? Yep. Looks like that's how it comes out today. That's all black. It's like paint. It's smooth. Keep looking here. Oh yeah, look at the... Ooh. There we go. That's a little bent up. Could be worse. Not much for oil in it. I'm guessing there's a line on here. Refill sump to indicated oil level with a bunch of numbers. Occasionally wash filter unit in kerosene and drain. I like directions like that. Rinse it with kerosene. That's a great old school direction on there. Yeah, might have some bending to do to get that square, but doesn't look bad. The paint on this cover is coming off everywhere though. We don't want that. I don't know if that air filter will be able to cover that. Looks like it sucks in from around the outside, and so air goes under, through the oil, and back up in before it goes into the engine. So that should grab any of that too, but I'll have to refill the oil there. Spark plugs don't look bad on the outside. I see they still have some gold on them. They might be factory plugs with only 59 hours on the engine. Why give it a tune-up? Especially if you're going to send it to auction. Let's try, nope. Give it another shot, maybe, not quite. That's the same one. That probably won't do it. What do we got here? Zero out our gauge here. Let's see. Anyone know how to read this guy? Looks like 1 inch and 0/128. So 1 inch. We're gonna need at least a 1 inch socket on there. See what we can find over here. Better put that back. Won't be able to find it next time. Maybe a little bigger than 1 1/16. How about like a 1.25 inch Ace? They probably got $15 for one of those. Let's see here. Oh, not a 36 millimeter. Probably get $20 for one of those. Master Force 32 seems awfully big though. That might not grab. Oh, and I'll do it best. 15/16. We know those don't work. Let's see. There's a great big one there. 3/4 inch again. What the heck happened to all of my 1.25 inch sockets? I had like 3 or 4 of them. It's got to be a deep. Now we're in it deep. It's amazing how many things on the old John Deere are 1 1/8 and 1 1/16. And you better have the right one. Let's see here. We're going about this all wrong. We need to look for floor sockets. Floor sockets are where it's at. Oh, don't want to run over one of those. Let's see here. No. Seems to me I spilled a bucket full of sockets. That's right, a bucket full of sockets here on the floor somewhere. Well, looks like they either made it all the way through or I picked them back up. You never can be sure. Once in a while they'll just roll off. They don't want to be part of the show anymore. No, nothing in there. Sometimes there's a bunch of BS laying over here. And a couple of pins, broken glass bottle, pins and bolts, pins and bolts. Yeah, looking for that too. Good deal. Huh. Wouldn't you know it? None of them here either. I excel at collecting the finest junk pieces. We haven't even started. Oh, what do we got here? What do we got here? 1 inch chrome vanadium brand. Yeah, maybe. Ooh, it's so tight. I hate for that to grab. It does fit. Maybe that's what you want. I guess if nothing else, we can cut it and try to get it to spin at least. Won't be right, but it'll be closer. Now let's grab that grinder. Get grinding. Got us plug in here. Looks nice and safe. Don't try this at home. Let's see if I can set this up so you guys can see it. Maybe? I don't know. Can you see it? If you can't see it, go ahead and look up the name of your congressman online. Be sure to give him an angry letter. Let's see, righty tighty, lefty loosey. Okay. Please. Woo. That is getting downright hot. Let's go find something to cool it off. Bucket of water, garden hose, garden hose. What do you think? Huh? Is it good? No. Will it work? Maybe. Hard to say. You definitely don't want to handle a piece like this once it's hot, barehanded. She's toasty. All right. Let me set you down there. Don't go anywhere. There we go. That way we get that good coat of rust on there. Well, everywhere that isn't already rusted. At 200 feet of hose on here, we gotta wait for the good cold water. Might be here a little bit. Get that nice and cold. We'll go back and burn our hands on it again, cut the other side, hopefully to match. See what happens. Floor socket though, we aren't out anything if we mess it up. I think I need a little more depth on that side. I guess we'll see. I don't really want it too far in there. I saw some videos of guys grooving them real deep. I don't want it to have to exit the groove and follow a path. I just want it to kick it off real quick. You know, safety always. Alright, here we go. Plug this back in. Oh, almost lost you there. Straight across the other side. I'm ready to line it up and see where I went wrong firsthand. Let's find out. Okay. Oh, that is not too bad. Looks like not this side, but this side I need to go deeper on the grooved portion. I'll give that a try. It's gonna be hot though. Remember when you're doing this kind of work to wear gloves. Shoot. You all see which side that was? Try it again. Alright, not that side. Okay, now I got it. It's that side. Remember everybody, the low cost solution is the one that gets the job done for nothing. Ooh, look at that. We're still only about 5/8 of the way up on the pin. Where are we hitting? Oh, we're hitting inside the socket. Oh Oh, by God, we can't go any deeper than that. I guess we can try that. I don't want to modify the end of that shaft at all. Good factory end like it is. Worst case, maybe I end up putting something on here. I know a guy who could make that happen. But let's see, I just want to go after it. I want to see what happens, like right now. There we go. Alright, here we go. And before we even have a chance at starting, I want oil in this oil bath. I don't want it sucking any paint. Or worse, through there. What grade of oil? Any? There we go. Last year's bottle left out around the back of the shed. A little sun faded, nothing but the best. Pour a bunch in, you say? Better get rid of the old stuff, huh? Oh, that looks good. Bit of sand in it. Right there. Huh. Good news is it doesn't need a whole lot of oil. You don't want to dump it into the center pipe, just around the edge. There we go. Fills it to about here. There's a line on the inside. Has the words oil level on it. There you go. Boom. Factory new. That little oil on top, that's okay. We won't charge the customer. Alright, so it took us a little while to get parts for this thing. Had to get it figured out. Had to look up the model number and serial number and figure out. We had a Wico brand magneto on the side of here. And I just wanted to share with you what we had going on. So I started out by doing some very minor checks. Open up this this viewing port here. There we go. And so I downloaded a manual online that had all this information in it. I'll come around here. And so you gotta find the timing marks here. And so if you look, I don't know, can you see it? It says DC, it's upside down right now, but that DC is the top dead center on cylinder number 1. So we're gonna have to rotate that around. There was that click, that was the ignition on the magneto from cylinder number 1, which happens before top dead center because it's advanced a little bit. And then as we come around, it lines up with this bolt here, straight up and down. We don't want to go too far. Straight up and down. Can you see that? DC is straight up and down with that bolt on top here. And when we come around to the side here, we had better see the X right there. Oh man, that's tight. Can we get in there? Do you see the little X? Little X mark? That had better be at the halfway point or below in this little viewing window. Then we come up here and we can view in here to see where the rotor is in relation to that. We might be 180 degrees off, or one more revolution around of the crankshaft, in order for that to be the ignition point for the number 1 cylinder, where it could be completely opposite. We could be at, these are numbered wrong, don't go by this, I believe it's 1, 2, 3, 4. They're correct on here. Someone numbered it just between the cap and the housing so that they got them back on in the right spot, but that's not my cylinder numbers. But that is cylinder 1. So if we take this cover off here, let me see, I've got some tools around here. We should be able to see where everything is in relation. So the problem we had before is that we didn't have any spark. So we go to the spark maker down here and see if we can get spark. Now there's a few things to try. First off, this little thing on the outside here is the shut-off switch. If you push this button in, it grounds it out, and then there's no spark. So that's like a manual shut-off switch. That wire is just going up to the controls of the unit and allows you to shut it off at the controls up top. I'm getting these screws loose here. There we go. There's a hard one way back in over here. Might have to set the camera down for this. Yeah, not even close. I'm going to set this down for a second. Maybe like that. Let me get this screwed off. Now, I'm going to go ahead and say I already found the problem. I just want to go ahead and show you in case you run into this. You can actually address it yourself, fix it yourself, without having to bring this thing into a shop. I believe this was the only problem on this unit, and it's kind of a shame someone didn't know enough about it to fix it, but their loss is my gain. That's their problem if they didn't know enough about it. I'll put this video online. Maybe the next guy who has this problem can figure it out. I'm not having very good luck on this screw. Try the Leatherman. Leatherman worked before for some of this. I don't remember all of what. Just pull all these off. We've already ensured that it works. I'm not too worried. Ow. Sliver or something? I get a sliver from a spark plug wire. There we go. That's about as much trouble as it took the first time too. There, I got it. Alright, and we're back. So once all 4 of those screws are loose on this Weco model, give it a little wiggle. There we go. Try not to break anything. Yeah, so based on where that rotor is, I don't know if you can see that, if it's out of focus or what. Based on where that rotor is, we're actually just after the number 3 cylinder. So I'm going to bring it back around just so you can see. Here, I'll leave this here and I'll crank this. There's the number 1. Accidentally shut off the camera. Just went past the number 1. And there's the X in the window. So now we're at the correct part of the stroke. Now, the maintenance on this guy is really simple. Everyone's so worked up about a magneto. What do I do with a magneto? How do I test it? It's really pretty easy. So you come down here. Gosh, that isn't real clear. You can see the points. I'll try pointing maybe with the screwdriver. You can see the points right in here. It's a gap that opens up. When this piece here, this black, I don't know all the names for it, when this black thing here riding on that shaft in there, you see where it rides on the shaft? It's probably all blurry. When that pushes it out, there's a gap. You don't need to know much more than that about it. I mean, there's a condenser in the back here. If you replace these points, replace the condenser. If you replace that condenser, replace the points. It's easy as that. They go in a pair. There's the condenser there, that silver tube. That was all I ended up replacing on here. It was $10. Auto Value Parts Stores had it. Here's the old one. I don't have any way to test it. I didn't have spark. Boom, 10 bucks. Same spark plugs that have probably been in here since the factory. If I come up top here, you can see they still got gold spray paint on them from when the engine was painted. Probably factory plugs. Doesn't bother me. The only thing is, when these points are open, they need to have a 15 thousandths gap. And I probably can't read that. It's actually stamped into the spot right there underneath the points, so you don't accidentally do it to something else. Right now they're open. There's a little gap there, if you can see it, 15 thousandths. If you don't have feeler gauges, if you don't want to spend $5 or $10 on feeler gauges, it's a business card. A nice tight business card with no embossing or raised lettering. Put that business card in. The one I measured, the business card I measured, was 15.6 thousandths, or 0.0156 inches. 15 thousandths. It's that straightforward. You replace the condenser at the same time. They didn't have points, or rather the points that they ordered for me were not the correct points. So I only replaced the condenser in this application. These are the original points. If you're going to do that, you have to clean up these points. They make a points file. It always takes off way too much. Read online in the forums. People don't recommend it. What I used is very high grain sandpaper. Here's, whoop, get that right side up. 2000 grain automotive sandpaper. And you hit it till they're shiny and square and flat. I don't know if you can see that. I kind of rounded them over and I shouldn't have. But it works just fine. They're not that picky. They got to have 15 thousandths of a gap when they're open and no gap when they're closed. The other thing on this is the timing. You'll have to check your owner's manual for that. But when you hear it go click, that should be the first stroke passing, where did it go? Passing the point in the distributor cap for the number 1 cylinder. In this case, the top left one, if you can see it there. And then you could actually watch it through the window go past that point, assuming you're on the correct stroke. So everyone's so worried about these things. Oh, I gotta bring it in, I gotta have it tuned up, I gotta have it cleaned up, I gotta have my coil ohmed out to see if my coil's any good. It's just as simple as points, condenser, open or shut. Cover's a little tricky to get on, but that doesn't mean you need to bring it in anywhere. Ugh, almost. There. Make sure that thing's on square, that's important. And then get them all finger tight before we tighten them down the rest of the way. That one doesn't want to go. That one's going up around the back side. Don't let someone make you think that this is a magic system in here where spark comes out of the ether of the universe. It's just a magnet, a coil, a condenser, and points. Cars used to have this. Some cars still do. Mostly not in this country. Old cars still do. I'm just rambling. So it is important that you take this model number off of here if you get points. They had the wrong set of points for me up at the auto parts store because I only gave them the model off of the engine. Well, depending on which magneto you have on here, they're very different points. They were unable to be used. So I returned them because the points were $22 or so. Now, I don't think in my previous videos I showed how I rigged up the gas supply on here. That's fun, because from what I could tell online, this thing is a gas hog. This thing eats 10,000 BTUs for every horsepower at load. Now granted, it won't even be at half load, but they don't have a chart for that I was able to find online anywhere. But for propane, this guy should eat 370,000 BTUs per hour on full load, and propane has something like 90 or 92,000 BTUs per gallon. So I mean, you're looking at, what is that, like 4 gallons an hour? And I thought, 4 gallons an hour, that's got to be too high, right? Well, I was able to find the Wisconsin guide for gasoline, how many gallons of gasoline it'll use an hour under load, and that one pretty much confirmed. I think it was 3.9 or 3.7 gallons of gasoline. So propane and gasoline about the same, except in today's America, propane's like $1.79 a gallon, and gasoline, premium gasoline like you should be using in your small engines, is close to $3.60 a gallon. So we're gonna leave it set up for propane. And that should shave off some cost if we have to run this thing. And this is just for backup at the house. I want to set this camera down. I can't see what I'm doing. There we go. Got it. Put them on. Oh, sorry. 4, 1. That's not really right. Those are just the numbers on the spark plug wires. They numbered them wrong initially. But that was before I got the unit. Get yourself a manual. I found a manual for free online for this model. I just got to put the plug in. So that was the whole of my repair on this thing. I had $10 into the repair. I went through and checked the timing. I actually took this off to work on it. It was a lot easier than trying to work on it with it on the. So I did some tracking down. Look in here. I don't know if you can see that. There's a starter solenoid. My God, if the starter isn't built in probably to the rear end, if you look down here, of this generator. So when I push the button, it starts cranking. Now I got the air filter off because for some reason, I don't know why, maybe my supply pressure, she doesn't like to start without being choked a little bit. Sometimes she likes to be choked. Here's the regulator we found in the end for this. This will handle 225,000 BTUs per hour. It's a, what was the pressure on it? It's a low pressure regulator. I got it at Home Depot. It's for supplying gas appliances. I want to say it's like 11 inches of water column or half PSI. I don't remember. It was in the range because online I read that this regulator here, which is upside down for a good reason, the spring is removed and it uses the suction of it to operate. Maybe I'm wrong on all that. I did check it out to make sure everything was operating inside. Read a manual online. Regooped all these fittings, putting them together. No leaks there. I went through this piece here, this volume regulator. I reset my throttle so that I'm getting the correct output voltages. But she starts right up if I choke it. So come over here. And if I crank it, I'll just choke it for a second and she'll fire off. And then we'll go through and check voltages. So you see, now she runs just fine. And I wanted to go through what I've got going on over here for the wiring. So this unit puts out 120 208 volt 3-phase power. That means from any of the hots to the neutral point of the system, we have 120 volts. But from a hot to a hot, we have 208 volts. It's widely used in commercial applications, the 208 volt. It's very common. A lot of things run on it. You've got commercial lighting that probably runs anywhere from 120 to 277 volt and has an auto transformer built in, so you can plug any of those into it and those will take right off. In a lot of commercial settings, that's what they use for ballasts or LED drivers. But in my house, I have very few things that run 208 volt. I have a power supply for a computer that can run anywhere from 100 volt to 250 volt, single phase. We're only using 2 hots, a hot and a hot, just like maybe your water heater does if you've got an electric water heater, or your range might use 2 hots. Your clothes dryer, if you've got an electric one, might use the 2 hots primarily. The neutral's just there for running a clock or running the motor on the dryer. Anyhow, without getting too far into electrical theory here, from hot to hot gives me a single phase of 208 volt. Now, in my house, the only essential item I have that can't run on 208 volt is my well, which reads 115 volt or 230 volt. Actually, I'd have to look at that again. I believe the model I have is only 230 volt, or that they set it for 230 volt, and that's what the cover shows. But it doesn't matter. I need to get from 208 volt as close to 230 volt as possible. And I've done that here. So I'll just show you what I've got. If you can see right in here, first things first, from the bonding lug, it's not grounding because we're not connecting to the ground, but the bonding lug goes over and connects to here, so that the frame of this unit and the frame of this transformer are at the same potential. It probably also allows for a fault path. I didn't see any overcurrent protection in this device, but there must be some somewhere. So I just wanted to make sure that was there. The other part of this is you have L0, 1, 2, and 3 here in the corner. Now L0 is our neutral point. I've already checked it. I have 120 volts from L1, L2, and L3 to ground, to the neutral point of this system, L0. But from L1 to L2, or L2 to L3, or L3 to L1, I have 208 volts. I've already checked that all the way out at the end of my wires. I've checked a little basket of junk here. I've checked my input voltages and my output voltages to know which ones I'm supposed to be testing. We went H1 to H3 and X1 to X3, and we end up getting the proper 230 volts. So I'll go ahead and show you here. Try to do this one-handed with a camera. It's actually an automotive style multimeter. Gotta set it to AC because it defaults to DC. But we're gonna fire this thing up Just set it to start cranking. Ooh, it almost fired off that time by itself. There we go. We'll just test it over here. Now, despite this being a Mac Tools meter, it fluctuates quite a bit. It does that on my household power too. That's more the meter than this setup. You saw like at the beginning it spiked to like 250 volts. That's not real. That's just maybe it was picking up a transient, a single cycle or something along those lines, but I don't put a whole lot of stock into this meter. It's pretty old. I've kept it in good shape, but nothing lasts forever. However, I do have 230 volts between X1 and X3 on this transformer. So I'm going to take this transformer and mount this to the wall in my house. Maybe I'll put a shelf under it. I see it's got a really nice mounting bracket. Maybe I'll go LEDs. Maybe I'll do a shelf under it and then LEDs. It'll really support it. Then I'll use a piece of flexible conduit, maybe liquid type flexible conduit, since it's right by the well, where the well comes in. I don't want it getting wet. But it's not really going to be hooked up any of the time. Just if there's a power outage and I come out here and I fire up this, I'm going to have it mounted permanently in the shed, probably on a concrete slab. I have to pour that, I have to make that, I have to wire it, I have to put permanent gas to it. This solution is just a temporary solution. I'll trench a gas line over to it, mount this on the side of the building. I'll get it all done up right. But then this unit will be permanently in the shed, and I'll wire it into the panel I have in the shed. So in the event of a power outage, I can shut off the line coming from the power company, and then fire up my generator, rewire or wire in that transformer just in line with the well. I've got a junction box inside already and plenty of room to wire. And then we should have power with water around here. The only things I've got that can't run 208 volt, yeah, it's just the well. I got rid of the stove this last year, so we're on a propane stove. I got rid of the water heater, so we're on a propane water heater. I got rid of the dryer, so we're on a propane dryer, trying to get my electric bill down. I redid the electrical service on the house just last year. There's not a whole lot else to do. Replace the main service panel, re-grounded, rebonded. Everything's in a pretty good place. But that's a problem for a different day. I wanted to show you guys that we have 230 volt single phase AC power after the transformer when this unit is hooked up. So I want to say thank you all for watching. This will conclude this video, this series. I'm just going to button it up. There's nothing really to see here. If you have any questions on this or want me to tear into anything on here, leave it in the comments. I'll take something apart so you can see the insides of it. It's all working and in good condition. So if you want me to measure something out, maybe use a voltmeter or ohm meter to determine the resistance of the windings so you can check yours, don't be afraid to ask. Throw it in the comments if I see it. I'll get back to you as soon as I can. I'll come out and measure it. I'm not afraid. I'll take the heads off of here and show you the valves or whatever we need to do so you can get yours running. But I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you were able to watch this through completion. And be sure to like and subscribe. Click the bell so you get notifications of when I do another video. And we'll see you next time.